I'm not going to say that these aren't tough choices that government is going to have to make. They are tough choices, but that's exactly why we elect government. We elect them to lead. The NDP campaigned on so-called leadership for what matters. Well, this is where we need leadership. Businesses and families are cutting back, and so should the government. So we've made some suggestions. We think that considering program spending tends to be much higher than the national average, particularly in healthcare. We're the highest spender in the country, and we have a pretty young population. We've called for a 15% program spending cut. That would save $7.8 billion. That's a large chunk of the deficit right there to get rid of. But then there are other things like tightening the government's belt, which businesses and families are doing that I think would make a difference. So, introducing a legislated spending cap on program spending to cap that at inflation and population growth, those increases, to keep that spending down. Ending all corporate welfare in the province, not allowing the government to hand out all these special contracts and corporate welfare to their friends in the green energy sector and to big oil companies, both of which they're going to be doing under the carbon tax and both of which are completely unjustified in our opinion. Our supporters are firmly against corporate welfare, so that's something that they could cut back on. They could reduce the number of government employees. As we mentioned, they're increasing that, but if they decreased it by 10%, they could save $2.56 billion. So again, another large chunk off the deficit right there. And I think that the government could really lead by example. MLAs could reduce their own salaries as a start by 10%, which would allow those salaries to remain over $114,000. That's still a very generous salary, especially considering all the perks and benefits they get. And then we recommend implementing that salary reduction across the board in government, so reducing by 10%. These are tough choices. Things like doing this, reforming government employee pensions, they are tough choices to make, but the reality is that Alberta businesses have been doing this since the economic downturn started. In the case of pension reform, the private sector has been pension reforming for many, many years prior to this. It's basically only the government sector that has defined benefit pensions as an example. So it's really just getting in touch with reality, and they're spending reforms that could make a really big difference. They could reduce taxes for Albertans today, and they could reduce that debt load for Albertans tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.